You are 2 weeks away from a divorce you never saw coming, all because of a single, unaddressed credit card bill. You think your spending habits are locked down, but the way you argue about a simple bank balance is creating hidden, lethal resentment that compounds over years. Most couples ignore these warning signs until their accounts and their marriage are completely drained. Here is how you reconcile your finances before the debt destroys you. And the final one is a technique that most couples avoid entirely, despite it being the most effective tool for long term stability. So sit back, relax, and let's get into the mechanics of why money destroys relationships and how you can stop the cycle before it starts. First, we have to look at the reality of the situation. In a 2023 study published by the American Psychological Association, financial stress was identified as the primary source of conflict for 64% of couples in the United States. It is not just about the lack of money. It is about the emotional weight attached to every dollar spent. Most of the time, the fight is never actually about the money. It is about the loss of agency, the feeling of not being heard, and the misalignment of what you each value as important. So, let's start with your first line of defense, the shared vision audit. This is your easy win. And you can start doing this today by simply sitting down with your partner and looking at the last 3 months of your joint spending. Don't look at it with the intent to judge or criticize. Instead, look for patterns that reveal your shared values. My friend Elena and her husband Mark were constantly arguing about their credit card bills until they tried this audit. They realized that Elena was overspending on home decor because she felt the house wasn't a heaven, while Mark was overspending on high end tech because he felt his work life was chaotic. Once they saw the data, they didn't see bad spending. They saw two people trying to solve different emotional problems with money. They set a small, dedicated budget for both categories, and the argument simply stopped. It works because it shifts the focus from you are wasting money to we are fulfilling needs. That is your starting point. But we can go deeper than that. Now, here is the level up. This is the proportional contribution model. Many couples default to a 50-50 split on expenses, but if you have a significant disparity in your incomes, that approach is a recipe for long-term disaster. Let's say you earn $60,000 and your partner earns $120,000. If you split the rent and bills right down the middle, your partner is essentially living a much more comfortable life while you are struggling to keep up. This breeds quiet, toxic resentment. Instead, use a proportional model where you each contribute a percentage of your income to the shared pot. If you make 1/3 of the total household income, you contribute 1/3 of the costs. It's simple, it's fair, and it keeps your relative standard of living equal. A study by the National Bureau of Economic Research found that couples who integrate their finances in a way that reflects their proportional earnings report 22% higher levels of relationship satisfaction than those who split costs 50-50. Think about that. It's a math solution that fixes an emotional problem. If you are finding this breakdown helpful, hit subscribe. I drop videos like this every single week. Enjoying this so far? Stick around because the best part is coming up next. Okay, so those two methods are solid. They build the foundation. They establish the ground rules. But what if I told you there is a third way, something even better that creates an entirely different layer of security? This is the financial autonomy reserve. Most financial advisors will tell you to dump every single penny into a joint account for transparency. But total transparency can sometimes lead to total loss of individual identity. When you have to ask your partner for permission to buy a book, a coffee, or a small personal gift, you stop being a partner and start being a dependent. That creates an unhealthy power dynamic. Here is the method. You establish a monthly, no questions asked fund for both of you. It doesn't matter if it's $100 or $500. The amount isn't the point. The point is that this money is yours, individually, to spend on whatever you want without checking in, without explaining, and without guilt. This preserves your individuality and your sense of self-worth within the relationship. I've seen this change everything for couples on the brink of calling it quits. One couple I know, David and Sarah, were fighting over David's hobby of buying vintage vinyl records. Sarah thought it was a waste, and David felt stifled and controlled. Once they set up their independent reserve, David could buy his records guilt-free, and Sarah stopped feeling like the gatekeeper of their shared money. The fighting stopped instantly. It allowed them to maintain their separate interests while remaining a united team on their major life goals. Let that sink in. That one shift alone can save you more stress than the first two methods combined because it targets the psychological need for autonomy that money usually threatens. Once you see it this way, you can't unsee it. The goal of financial management in a relationship isn't total control. It is total harmony. So you have the shared vision audit to build agreement, the proportional contribution model to ensure fairness, and the financial autonomy reserve to protect your individual identity. That is a complete system. It covers the past, the present, and the psychological future of your partnership. Most people try to use just one of these and get frustrated when it doesn't work. But when you use all three, you are not just managing money, you are building a resilient life together. If you got value from this, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. I've got something even better coming next week that will change how you approach your long term wealth goals. Stay focused, be intentional, and keep building your future together. See you next time.